Lock in. Lock in.
Great.
Lock in. No laughing. Lock in.
Hi, welcome to the Red Mike podcast. Today with me I have Raging Socialist and Budget Hassan Piker, Ashlyn Zhu, Ben Shapiro knockoff, and anarcho-capitalist libertarian, some conservative BS, Austin Raish, and Budget Marco Polo, at Natalie Lowe. How are you guys doing today? And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yay.
Look at our jank setup. It's
Our setup is amazing.
Yeah.
We took way too long on it.
Took way too long.
Anyways, how's everyone's day been?
It's been okay.
How was yours going after?
Austin punched me in the face.
Yeah.
I had my glasses shattered earlier this morning.
That's
in class.
It's a bit concerning.
All right, moving on.
Yeah. Earlier this weekend also, my cousin got COVID vaccinated. Kind of a sad moment. Why am I laughing?
Why are you laughing?
Why are you laughing, Natalie? What are you doing?
Oh,
shit. So, we're seeing this large resurgence of COVID cases with the Omicron variant, even in countries like the US. It's scary here, but in poor parts of the world, it's way worse. These less developed governments have practically no vaccines at all, and there's a lot of risk of COVID infections and death, especially in Africa. It's apparent because they have very low vaccination rates, which puts them at huge risks of infection and harm from COVID. Today we're going to be talking about these disparities in vaccines. So, Ashlyn, in your mind, what would you attribute this disparity of vaccines to?
So to me, the answer is pretty obvious. So countries that have low income do not have as high vaccination rates. So the richest country, China, has an 83.2% vaccination rate, and the US has a 61.4% vaccination rate, and they're both one of the. Are these the top two?
Yeah, I think they're they're definitely some of the richest countries.
They're very rich countries.
And also, I think they've been doing a lot of the development of the vaccines as well. Yeah.
Especially because it's very cutting edge technology.
Yeah,
using,
exactly.
mRNA for to insert that into your cells.
Yeah, exactly. To teach the cell about the antibodies.
Yeah.
And the poorest country has only 600 people fully vaccinated. So that's 0.00005%.
That's probably less than
that
vaccines
country,
in this school.
Yeah. What country is that? Burundi?
Yeah,
Burundi. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I think this is that's pretty much a fact, right?
That
It's
is a fact.
because of the lower income, but I think where you guys start to disagree is what we should be doing about that, and
which countries should be helping, or should they be helping at all?
Yeah. Austin, what are your thoughts?
I think that for the countries that don't have a lot of vaccines, I think that's their own fault. That they are poor and that's their own problem. Because I think if the question is, should the U.S. help? Are you okay?
Yeah.
The question is if the U.S. should help them. I don't think they should.
That's a really aggressive take.
Again, we're one of the richest countries in the world, and only 61% of our population is vaccinated. So I think we have to focus on ourselves before we focus on other countries. That's just what I think. I think for the poor countries, they can focus on themselves. They can let the market decide it. I mean, they can use capitalism to gain more money. Because the companies that make these vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, all those companies, they have innovated so that it's their right to sell vaccines at whatever price to whoever they want. They are not at all required to donate vaccines. I mean, if they wanted to, it would be a good business move on their part, but they totally do not have to. They can let the market decide the price.
Okay, you touched on how we should focus on the U.S. first, but you also said that it's only 60, what was the number? 60?
Yeah, 61%.
61%, and that we need to get our people vaccinated. But here it's not really you're forcing people to, it's your choice to get vaccinated. And a lot of people in the US are choosing not to get vaccinated. So shouldn't those vaccines go to people who want them and want to be protected from COVID?
If they can pay for it, sure. We should not be taking the hit for their own mistakes.
If countries can do things to help other people, right? Shouldn't they take that, and shouldn't they donate what their country isn't taking advantage of? The U.S. is hoarding almost of vaccines.
Yeah, now I don't agree with this, but I think what Austin is trying to say is that, like, if another country, like, it's not a government's responsibility of another country to care for the citizens of a different country. And honestly, in this case, I think I would side with Natalie and Ashlyn, and that they would, it would be a good idea just because of the immense amount of suffering, which is scary.
Not our problem. It's scary, but it's not our problem. We do have all these extra vaccines. First off, we'll get all the people in our country boosters who want them, and then if we're probably going to have a lot of vaccines left over, and we could donate them, but then again, we could sell them to these countries. And what's the point of donating if you can sell them? Seriously.
It's a human life, though, that could be at stake. Like, there's so many places that need vaccines because people are dying. Like, people, like, bringing humanity back into this, you have to look at it as every human has a life that is worth something.
Exactly. Would you say human life is priceless, though?
Priceless?
Yeah, you would say it's priceless, right? Human life. It's human life we're talking about. So,
What?
yeah, so then you would be willing to pay any price to save a human life. So these countries, they can pay any price they
But
want.
they don't have the money, so they don't have the funds. So it's not a like, it kind of is our responsibility. It, like, I don't know, how do I say this?
How is it our
Like,
responsibility?
It's not like, literally, it's not our responsibility, but it's kind of our place to be there
The moral
to help
standing.
them.
It's a moral
Yes.
responsibility.
It's a moral
No,
Yes.
we will gain nothing out of this. We could sell them. We would
We
gain
gain-
money.
I would like to
Human life.
add that also countries, like, a lot of the transmissions of COVID is through travel and through people trying to get back to their homes. So if we're not vaccinating, like, other countries, lower income countries, or anywhere else, if we're not donating those vaccines that we have such a surplus of, there's going to be a wider spread of COVID, and this pandemic is going to last way longer than we want it to.
I've also heard that the countries in Africa specifically are getting they're getting China's and India's vaccines rather than the US's, and I don't know. There's sort of a stigma around their vaccines as being possibly like less effective than the Pfizer ones and the Moderna ones.
I don't know. I haven't really done a ton of research on the differences between vaccines. All I know is that the U.S.'s vaccines focus mainly on like DNA or RNA being like in the vaccine to help the body make antibodies. But I wanted to share a small story about a woman from South Africa who gave birth to a boy in a hospital, and she was saying that like it was very scary because it's not like a place where there's a ton of vaccinations available, and it's not a place where like there's a ton of hospital beds available. Like her husband couldn't even come into the room because of how bad COVID was. He couldn't come to the hospital. She was totally alone, and even in labor, she had to be continuously reminded that her mask had to stay on. And I think this just shows like she could have lost a child. She could have like because of other people not being vaccinated and a lack of vaccinations. And I think we should really look at donations of vaccines as a huge place of, you know, to put like effort into that to save human life.
Yeah.
Donate masks instead. They're cheaper.
Okay, so Austin, basically your concerns, it seems like you're erring on the side of caution with hurting the global economy, right? Through just the massive costs of these donations that will likely not get paid back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, at some point, I think the global economy kind of has to be sacrificed. The thing is, vaccines, not getting a vaccine actually hurts the economy. There are tons of unvaccinated sailors, which is a huge issue because they come from like poorer countries with little to no access to vaccines, which means that they're not allowed into other countries that they like sail to, or they come to sell like products or goods or whatever they have. And they're not allowed off the ship, so they have to stay there for extended periods, which is a detriment to the economy because they're not able to sell the products and goods that people have ordered or people that are in demand, essentially.
Oh, okay.
And there's a huge like backup, and that's a part of if you've like been in like recent news, you can see that there's a huge backup of like things coming into the U.S. specifically because of all of the COVID shutdown stuff.
Yeah, the supply chains are not doing too well, which Austin, I'm sure you have heard about, right? As
Yeah.
a capitalist.
Yeah, I buy a lot off Amazon.
You buy a lot of Amazon, let's
Yeah.
go. Shipping from like China or
Yeah,
something.
Jeff Bezos is slacking lately.
I also wanted to add that once sailors get vaccinated, often from their own country, often these vaccines aren't very effective or they have no effect because they are produced in countries that don't have enough money to produce an effective vaccine. And so when they try and get into other countries, these countries don't recognize these vaccines as good vaccines and therefore not protecting the individual, and so they are still not allowed in.
So adding on to that, many countries, like countries in Africa, they're getting pretty bad vaccines from other places that may not have the right resources or the best funding, and I think that's why it's important for the U.S. to chip in and donate, because we do have the resources and we have the ability to help other countries and donate kind of what we don't need.
And vaccines that are quality and we
Yes.
know protect people.
Yeah.
Omicron, it's been really bad here. A lot of places are shutting down again. We might go back. This has been definitely the worst variant that we've had of COVID.
Haven't people said like school might shut down in January?
That's what I'm
Which
I
is
think-
terrible.
Yeah,
I
if you
don't
look
want
at
that to
numbers,
happen.
like specifically for like our lives in Middlesex County, numbers have been like
Yeah, it's like
weirdly
almost as
far
bad.
high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
it's near
bad.
the same. It's near the same. Same time last year where like
Yeah,
COVID
when
was
it-
really reaching
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
its peak. It's very similar.
It got me out of seeing
And it's
Spider-Man.
going up so like straight. It's like a
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
quite insane.
I was gonna go see Spider-Man, but now I can't.
Sad,
Thanks, Omicron.
sad.
Now I gotta avoid spoilers for another week.
Another factor to consider, you mentioned Omicron, is that it started in Africa. Like, there's a reason that it was originated in Africa. Like, the lack of vaccines means that there's more people transmitting. There's more people transmitting these things, and stop doing the talking thing.
Shut up,
It's so
Austin.
rude. Okay, there's a lack of vaccines, and which allows the virus to transmit to more people and thus mutate more through each transmission,
Oh, that's true.
and which can result, obviously, as it did in Omicron, and which is spreading rapidly. Which is why vaccines literally prevent these mutations and prevent prolonging this pandemic.
And kind of, it's like, who's to say this isn't going to happen again and again? Like, our goal is to try to get everyone as a whole vaccinated, and kind of like Natalie was saying, where it started from Africa, it's important that we can distribute vaccines to them so we don't transmit it to them and vice versa.
Yeah,
I
they-
have a better idea.
They do need like the lasting infrastructure as well to sort of accomplish that, which the U.S. can also help to provide at least. Possibly for that, there's the possibility like you can do loans because of how it'll hopefully help the economy in those places.
Anyway, my
Also-
idea is,
Let's
what
hit the
if,
last talking point soon.
what if we
Wait,
just
wait.
completely shut down everything for like 2 weeks? I wouldn't mind becoming North Korea for 2 weeks if it means we get this virus out of here. 'Cause I am sick of this,
Okay,
man.
so hold
It
on.
really actually sucks. It does.
It
If you're-
sucks
it
so
does
much.
suck.
Like this virus took. I was
It
like a
does.
happy little kid who enjoyed life at the beginning of
Yeah,
the virus,
how
and
much of
now
our
it has just
lives-
completely transformed me into
Yeah,
like
I
this.
think
this
we
animal.
still-
So after we've just talked about how horrible this pandemic has been, I think that overall it's important that. So do you agree that if we get like everyone as vaccinated as possible, that it would help shorten the amount of time it would take to kind of put an end to this?
Sure.
So
I don't think there's any putting an end to, or at least
I think
reduce
too-
it.
This
Whatever.
is never.
I
Yeah,
think
it
gonna
definitely
I think it's
reduce
very
it.
hard to just end a
Yeah.
sickness. I feel like there's only been, I think the only sickness that's been like completely obliterated, I think, was smallpox.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
that's true.
Yeah. What about the Spanish flu?
No, that's still.
What about
People
the
can
Black
still,
Plague?
I think people
That's
can,
still here, but
people
they
can
haven't
still
changed it.
transmit and like get those things,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
it's
luckily.
there's so many like more productive ways to like
And also
get
Exactly.
the
like,
black
get healthy
So-
and
again.
also the Black Death. There aren't like rats just like, running around the streets anymore.
Yeah,
as
it's
much.
it's and people know so much more about
Go to
medicine.
New York.
That's true. I'm kind of surprised.
My room has a rat infestation.
It was really nice to talk to you guys.
Wait.
Not nice
Yeah,
to
yeah,
talk to
that's
you.
true. It
Oh.
was. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah,
I think
gotta-
South Hill should just wrap
This
this
is-
up.
Sahil, you want to wrap it up for
Yeah,
us?
wrap it up, buddy.
This is gonna go so bad.
Come on, Mr.
You got it.
Guys, thank you guys for coming on to the podcast and wasting your the better
Don't
half,
say
the
that.
better
This was
second,
such an
We
insightful
love
discussion.
the better second half of your
I
day.
had nothing else to do.
This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was
This
a
is
good
great.
time.
I love talking
Yes.
to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
can
loved
like look
hearing
at look at
all
look at
of
all
you
the
guys.
all the
cameras.
cameras.
Look at that.
Look at the
Yeah, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone, bye. Okay, great.
We're done.
Hey,
And we're done.
Ashwood, have a good time editing
Woo!
2 hours of footage.
It's okay, I've done it before.